Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being with us on the Mountain Morning Show. And as we have been talking, the weather's a little bit iffy for this week. We've had rain kind of off and on, but it's been a little refreshing. It hasn't been too bad. And I know a lot of you are wondering, what's the weather going to be like as you're coming into town for the Park City Food and Wine Classic this week? And it is the event of the year. I'm not kidding. It is one of my favorites, and I know a lot of your favorites. We're talking about one of the events specifically going to benefit the People's Health Clinic. So I have Nann Worel, who is in here with People's Health Clinic, and also Jane Lee Winter, who is, I think you have the ideal life that I want. Jane gave me like a brief paragraph on who she was and what she does, and I said, I'm sold. I want your life. She's been to more countries than I can possibly imagine, and she's with Gourmet Travel Club. So how are you?
I'm just happy to be here in Park City. This is my favorite place in all of the world, and
she
I've
means
been
that
to a lot of places. Never disappoints.
Well, you've got you're part-time here as well, so you obviously like it for some reasons to live here.
Right.
So, Nann, let's have you actually do more of an introduction on Jane and maybe how she came together to help you with the Sundowners event coming up for People's Health Clinic this weekend.
Well, as you know, our clinic is so grateful and dependent on our volunteers to be able to do the work that we do, and we can't do it without the generosity of donors. So our volunteers are not only medical folks, but they come from all walks of life, such as Jane Lee. And she's helping us raise money. I know Jane Lee because she's a neighbor of mine here when she's here with her second home. And she started the Gourmet Travel Club almost a year ago, am I right with that?
It's been about a year ago we launched, but it's been in my brain for a couple of years.
Yeah. So it's been fun for me to watch her kind of come up with the concept and then go to chef school so she could talk the talk with the chefs that she's doing, but the club just goes to amazing places. I know they have a Mediterranean cruise coming up in the near future and all sorts of wonderful things. So we're just really fortunate that Jane Lee is donating her time and talent to do a seminar about African sundowners and that tradition.
That is so cool. Jane, introduce yourself a little bit about, give us some of the countries you've been to. What are some of the ones that stand out?
I've been to 86 countries, and my passion is Africa. Even though I've been to almost every continent, I haven't been to Antarctica yet, but I keep going back to Africa, and I don't know, I think a little piece of me is there. And I've been so involved in bringing people, exposing clients to that continent, especially Southern Africa. But my other passion is food. And so to marry those two interests, because I've been eating my way around the world for many, many years. I've been in the travel
business. Sound like a bad job.
32 years of being in the travel business with this hobby as a food, and then taking it to that next level with actually going to professional chef school has really kind of honed in my interests. And it's really fun to share that with people. And so when Nann asked me if I'd like to participate in this Food and Wine Festival, I was the first one to raise my hand.
Absolutely.
And then the St. Regis Hotel has this amazing venue that's around the fire pit. It's a round venue with all the chairs are going to be around, just like in Africa, just like a boma in Africa. And we're going to have the grill going, and we're going to have poiki pots, which is the African Dutch ovens that people would cook over the fire with. And we're trying to bring in a lot of the spirit and the ambiance of Africa right here in Park City. So
now, when we say Africa, giant continent, where specifically are we talking about?
Well, I know food from all over the continent, and I've been all over the continent, North Africa, Morocco, and I've been to West Africa, even Timbuktu. But my focus tonight, or on Friday night, is really going to be on Southern Africa, specifically South Africa, but with some twists from some of the other countries surrounding. We're going to talk about South African wines. We're going to do a Brut. We're going to do a Chardonnay, a Pinotage, which is very specific to South Africa, and then a Stellenbosch Cabernet Sauvignon. And then we're going to pair just bites of little soups and fish, and I tried to get ostrich, but it's kind of hard to get ostrich. So what we're doing is
what does ostrich taste like?
Oh, ostrich is amazing.
Really?
It's like a red meat, and it's very, very lean. It's very, very good for you, but it's, you really have to be careful when you buy it. So not knowing the sources here, we're using elk instead.
That works.
That makes sense. This is African game meat, Park City style.
That works. I think it works. And for those of you that, the Park City Food and Wine Classic, I feel like at this point a lot of people understand what it is, but there's so much that goes on with it. There are classes, there are events, there are things that benefit People's Health Clinic, all these different things that you can go to. You don't have to be a wine lover to even go. I mean, you can pair the food with the wine, or if you're not a wine lover, just go for the food itself. I mean, if anything, they want to get to know all these South African dishes, to learn what they are, and to experience a different country. Bringing it right here to into Park City would be incredible. Now, the event itself is called what?
It's called Savory Sundowners.
Which means what?
One of my favorite things, and when we bring a group, our group always loves these times when you're out in the bush and you're stalking lion and you're photographing all the game. You come together at sunset. You always come together at sunset. And you stop and you pause and you reflect on the wonderful day and you anticipate the evening. And it's just a great time. And your guide will lay out a table in front of the vehicle and put a beautiful African tablecloth down and bring out the gin and tonics or the wine and little tidbits, and you'll stand there together and watch the sunset. And it's done every night when you're on safari.
Wouldn't this be amazing if we actually took the time to do something like this every day?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it? Because let's be honest, Nann, you living here in Park City, and I've been here for almost my whole life. We have beautiful views. We have an incredible city that we live in. But if we took the time each and every night to be like, okay, wow, I'm really grateful. This place is amazing.
Right.
How much would it benefit us?
It would be fabulous. Our blood pressure would go way down. I have a feeling.
It's a great habit to get into. And just last night, I was with my niece and nephew, and we were out on our deck watching the sunset. And I really had to, you have to be intentional about it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what happens in Africa when you're on safari, is you get intentional and people anticipate that moment together. And it's really special. And then, of course, we're blending in all of the different flavors, and I'm going to be doing some teaching on the flavors of Africa. And with that comes the history. South Africa in particular has an amazingly rich, we talk about America being the melting pot.
Right.
I think South Africa is just as much the melting pot over the last 400 years. So we're going to talk a little bit about that on Friday, too.
Oh, that is going to be so neat. So if you do want to experience it with somebody who's experienced it herself multiple times and is very knowledgeable about this, also very passionate. I could tell in your writing to your email to myself, and just in your talking, how passionate you are about this. I love travel as well, so I'm like enthralled with this.
It's addicting, isn't it?
You just need to find more money. That's the only problem. I'm like waiting to win the lottery.
Yeah,
Right.
That's
So
right.
don't forget about all the events going on, but specifically this one is going on Friday night at the St. Regis, 7:30, right?
It's at 7:30. At this late yesterday afternoon, I believe the last ticket was sold, but we're taking
Good.
a waiting list.
Are you? Okay.
And so if anybody's interested, they can call Jenny Dorsey at the People's Health Clinic at 435-333-1871.
Perfect. So if you are dying to go, especially because you've just been introduced to Jane, you can check it out. Just call the People's Health Clinic. That'll be wonderful. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in. We always love
you.
People's Health Clinic.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more on the Mountain Morning Show, about 10 minutes left before we start hour number 2.